Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I appreciate you supporting my motion to have this frequent report, because it's one thing to get a report in writing. It's a different thing to have the opportunity in this public board meeting, hear these numbers, and for you all to have the opportunity to share with the world. Because the world is watching and listening to how we're managing this. So thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. You know, the LA Times article today and hearing you say the Cecil Hotel gave me a complete flashback. And it made me think about the responsibility we have today, particularly during these tough budget times. I was a very young choral fellow in 1987, and we had an assignment because every level of government, the county and city, claimed that there were no children living in Skid Row. And yet the service organization said that's not true because the feeder elementary school was overpopulated and children were being bused. So we did a door-to-door survey in the Alexandria and the Cecil Hotel. And Alexandria had 500 rooms, and in almost every room we found children. We found a brand new baby who had been born at Big General who came home to the Alexandria Hotel. And so what we determined was that government had creatively sliced and diced what they defined as Skid Row. So there were children living in hotel rooms across the street from this artificial boundary of Skid Row. That was in 1987. If we had owned it and acknowledged it then and put forward some of these programs that you are implementing, we wouldn't be in the situation as a county that we are today. And so what I am deadly, Phil and Sale, our very LA County's very own, used to come to Sacramento once a year and give us a bar chart showing us the number of CalWorks families that were falling into homelessness. So all of us, the collective we, the state legislature, did not happen overnight. It took years for us to get here. The question will remain in this tough budget season, state legislature, when you're looking at cutting the single allocation to CalWorks. We cannot afford to go backwards. We see it, we know it, we see the data of what investment can do to course correct. I, I wonder often what happened to those families that I saw in those hotels in 1987, almost 40 years ago. And if they were afforded the opportunity that we're giving families today, how we could have changed the lives of that brand new baby that came home to a SRO hotel, whose mom had to move every 30 days from one room to the next, cooking for her family on two single burners with a double door refrigerator. I'm like, how did she get this refrigerator in this SRO hotel? Because she was trying to take care of those children. So we can't go backwards. I appreciate tough budget years, but this will not be the time to cut these kinds of resources where we at local government are showing we are making a difference for family. And figuring out how to help and support our unhoused, find stability in housing. So thank you for your presentation. I'm glad to see the Cecil Hotel now being used in that context. That's very, very good news. Want to thank you, Cherie, all three of you, for your work, the work you've done in really surpassing the goals we set. It's making me think maybe we didn't set real stretch goals. Shame on us, because you all are overperforming. Now we gotta move the finish line. Really thrilled to hear about the uninhabitable RVs that have been moved, decommissioned, which was always my goal. So a couple of quick questions. Um, as Pathway Home continues to expand, where are we on the protocol list with regards to shortening the time it takes to schedule a cleanup? Because that's the issue we continue to hear from constituents. They're glad to hear about the data, the program. It's the time frame that we get cleanup. So where are we there?
And I believe that you were asking about the cleanups that we're doing, in particular the non-displacement cleanups that
Yes.
we're doing at encampments in the unincorporated areas
I am.
while those sites are waiting for a full pathway home resolution. Yeah.
Yes.
We have been working with the Department of Public Works, with Sheriff and LASA and our HI team. Those are the main partners in those cleanups, and have come up with an option and a recommendation for scaling up those those teams so that they can respond more quickly. That is our to be implementing that beginning at the beginning of the fiscal year to reduce that wait time for those non-displacement cleanups, to get more teams out there, as well as to add some enhancements that have to do with the illegal dumping that happens in the vicinity of encampments, to include those as well as including pumper trucks to help with the pumping of sewage out of RVs, and that would be a new service that would be scaled up and expanded while we are pending those sites getting a full pathway home resolution, as well as deeper investment in shoring up and securing some of the county assets that are in the vicinity of encampments, like replacing fencing around waterways and that type of thing. So those will all be part of the scale up and enhancements.
I appreciate that. I just think it's important that because we know it takes time to find motels. I love the master leasing we've been able to do. I continue to elevate this issue and ask this question because there are things, as you've just described, that we can do for the encampments while we wait to get those motels and the interim and the permanent supportive housing online. So, it's dual track in my mind. So making sure that we're continuing to make progress in both areas, I think, is really important. And just finally, for me, final question, Madam Chair. So how many, so we acknowledge the fact that you're ahead of the game in terms of the numbers. Can you give us a projection in terms of how many people will be brought into homes for the remainder of the calendar year? Do you have a sense?
We will need to check on the calendar year question. And if we're talking through our encampment resolution efforts, okay. I don't know if Carter, if you're able to give an estimate related to that as it relates to Pathway Home, and then we can check with Sarah.
I will need to sit down with the calendar year question. We are aiming to have 900 rooms under contract by the end of this fiscal year.
Okay.
And so the capacity of that to serve households is how we would calculate how many people we would expect to bring in.
I'll have to check in with the team to see what the progress is. It's an exciting time in Skid Row, I will have to say, in terms of more permanent housing coming online. The pipeline of permanent supportive housing funded by Triple H and by No Place Like Home meant that over the 3 years, there were about 750 new permanent supportive housing buildings coming online. So we do have a schedule that's tied to that. And there are some more buildings this year. So I would expect that we'll probably hit 1,000, would be a good ambitious goal.
Excellent. Thank you, Madam Chair.